There have been more than 385 mass shootings across the U.S. so far this year. The latest, just last week, at a high school in Georgia, 2 students and 2 teachers were shot and killed by a 14-year-old student. Joining us this afternoon is a mass shooting expert and secretary of the National Center for Victims of Crime. We have Michael Haggard here. Mr. Haggard, thank you so much for joining us. Such an important topic here. You represent several victims from the Parkland mass shooting as well as others here. So there have been reported similarities, right, between the Parkland school shooting and the Georgia school shooting. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, it's really scary, and we see it time and time again. Both these shooters were teenagers. They were very troubled. But what's unfortunate is that the school systems knew that they were troubled. The law enforcement knew that they were troubled. In both cases, the FBI had specific tips about these 2 shooters, and the FBI failed to communicate that to the school districts where ultimately the mass shootings occurred. And we're seeing that more and more across America, where it's the same type individual, same profile in these school shootings.
And as you said seconds ago, right, the FBI and other school districts had the alleged shooter on the radar here. So what is the responsibility of these entities if they cannot make an arrest here?
Yeah, no, in the Parkland case and in the Charleston terrible church shooting, the FBI actually was held liable. They were sued in both cases. We brought the case on behalf of our clients, where the FBI did not react to the specific tip of the Parkland school shooter. They did nothing about it. They didn't act upon it. They didn't follow up on it. Here, what you have in Georgia is the FBI had an actual tip that he had threatened schools. They sent law enforcement, local law enforcement out there. They interviewed them. You can see the body cam interview, which is just amazing. It's so bland. There's no follow-up questions. They found out he has access to rifles at that point in time. His father admitted it, and they didn't follow up on anything. And then you have this occur. But what's really troubling is there's no communication between law enforcement and the school entities. The school boards want to know this. They need to know, who might be, I hate to say this, but the next school shooter. Who is that person? And the FBI and local law enforcement, in this case, knew exactly what was going on with this kid.
It's very concerning here. In your experience, what do you think can be done to at least curb this issue?
We know what can be done, and unfortunately it polls very high among Americans, but Congress won't act. Responsible gun owners would tell you, I'll pass a background check. I have no problem being trained. I have no problem having a license. I store my guns appropriately and safely away from ammunition, and no one uses an AR-15 to hunt, and they should be banned like they were in this country for 10 years. All those issues poll over 70% with Americans. And unless we're going to sit there and say, this is what it is, and when you let your kids go to school, they may not come back, if we're stronger than that as Americans, those are simple steps we can do that will begin to curb this terrible and unique American problem.
Expert and Secretary of the National Center for Victims of Crime, Michael Haggard, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll be right back.